Poddy greetings and welcome to episode 54. Has this been updated? Yeah, 54, I think, of the PoddyC. We are back after a couple extra weeks off than we initially intended. Life came at us pretty quick, huh?
Yeah, we got
First pod of the week
some
or
fires.
year. I mean,
Yeah, I was also sitting around here waiting to see if you're gonna make a pun, because I think it was our last episode. You made a joke that Dorky and I completely missed, and I think every single comment was like, "Dratnos, I feel so bad for you. I would have got your joke."
wait, was that long ago? Was that the last?
Yeah, that
episode?
was our last episode. That was like a month ago.
Dude,
But
not gonna
no,
lie, I still don't get it.
no. It's okay. I'll explain it to you later. No puns or jokes or anything. We've got a lot of serious, important news to talk about this week. So I figured we could start off with a big one. This is a big Wowhead post that came out a couple of days ago. First look at the new delves in patch 11.1. We've got Excavation
that is
Site
important.
9 and Side Street Sluice. Which of these are you two most excited for?
Holy,
Okay, wait. The top one actually looks kind of cool, like aesthetically.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And then there's Side Street Sluice. And then, of course, there's the Underpins Demolition Competition, which is the new Zekvir's lair in a big.
oh, that's cool.
That looks kind of like the boss we did raid testing of last week, huh?
Yeah. The
Yeah, which
delves are awesome. Yeah, I think probably still similarly for all of us, the delves are like still just delving along. It'll take a while till, or maybe they're great now and they're not for us, but maybe in the future they're. I hope they do the boss like the Zekfir
Yeah.
better. I feel like that was the one that was maybe supposed to be like the enticing thing for players who play the game a little differently, and I don't think they quite hit that. So maybe hitting that, but otherwise the delves. I think there's a lot of other things to be excited about the patch though. Like I actually I want to hear about if you guys have been able to do the new dungeon at all. I know a lot of classes are super messed up right now and like tier sets aren't working, just normal like early PTR stuff. But the raid looks incredibly good. Like I hate like Dratnos and I usually do these videos before raids and we're like talking about how cool the bosses are from a design perspective. And then like there can just be one thing. They just make a mechanic happen twice as much when it's live, like the ducks on the council boss in Amirdrasil, and it's like, okay, now this boss is terrible. They made one decision and it was terrible. But like it is so thematic, it is so cool. The bosses look so hard, some of the ones near the end. And it's just I'm so excited for the raid. Like most excited I've ever been reading a dungeon journal. I know I think I say some hyperbolic things like that sometimes, but genuinely, like the last couple bosses are absolutely crazy.
How many bosses
Yeah.
have we seen so far in raid testing? I haven't looked at it at all.
One,
We've done one
just one,
heroic
okay.
raid test, but
which
the
was a
dungeon journal
fucking
is out. Dude, that boss is so
awesome boss.
fun.
Awesome
Yeah.
boss. Incredibly good boss. Yeah.
It's like a Katamari Damacy or whatever that game is, where you just roll around on a ball and roll over stuff. That's like the main mechanic
You
of
just
it.
run over trash. It's fucking.
Yeah.
It's sweet. Yeah. It's really cool. There's like a siege crafter esque boss. Like there's like these conveyor belts and things you have to kill, and you will probably deal with the ones maybe you can't kill. That boss also on Mythic has like reversed polarity. So think like Silken Court, but instead of it being an insta kill one shot, it's just a small hit and a knockback, but like still pretty challenging. The second to last boss has like a Sisters of the Moon type. You swap sides of the room and things happen to you that are really complicated, but also like you can each boss's one ogre head is currently the main boss depending on whichever side is full, and like that's like your it's like a second to last boss, but it's very like single target. It's so good. Just everything is it's so good.
Dude, whenever you open the second to last boss dungeon journal and there's not like 4 different ads to learn about what they all do, you're so happy.
Yeah, there's one ad, and his name is
Yeah.
the Galagio Goon, and he's a bad boy. He puts everyone in jails. Oh, they used if anyone's a Final Fantasy player, if they ever played Final Fantasy, they always spell jail really funny in that game. It's like GAOL.
That's how Elden Ring does it too.
Yeah, Elden Ring. Yeah,
yeah.
the real old timey, speaky way of saying jail. They say it like that on that fight, which I found interesting. I'm gonna call it Gaol through all of progression,
it
just
Gaol,
as a
too.
bit. I think.
Does it actually mean jail or
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, it is literally
Oh.
how I think it used to spell jail, like way back in the day, and game developers thought that was super clever, so they started putting it in their games.
Yeah,
yeah.
goddamn old English. Yeah, on the M plus side of things, the new dungeon actually looks awesome too. Like, I think this is the first time I've been this excited for a new dungeon since I want to say Gambit, even. because like like the Dragonfly dungeons and Orphan dungeons were like kind of like all right, it's cool, but like nothing really stands out. But after having played this new dungeon, I think this new dungeon's awesome, and maybe part of it is also how they're approaching designing these dungeons. What I've noticed so far, at least in this dungeon, I can't say the same for the other dungeons that haven't been tested yet, is there's significantly less kicks, and that's kind of something people have been asking for a while. There are just like one or two big mobs that need to be kicked every so often, so that can easily be hard assigned. And
Interesting.
the damage seems to be like the main focus. Like that's still a little bit of a worry. I do fear it's gonna get a little bit out of control, and maybe like healers and tanks are gonna struggle with it. But that seems to be their focus. Like they're moving a little bit away from the kicks and stops and moving a little bit more into unavoidable damage. I think we've talked about this before too, where it's like, wouldn't it be better if they just made it like you don't need to kick it, but it's just like it just happens.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Then you can design an experience you want people to go through. Kind of the problem with that though is like that affects infinite scaling in dungeons a lot more. Like that can make your next key level up like just so much more noticeably annoying if just so because like really the only reason that infinite scaling really works and why people can do super high keys is actually because you can stop a lot of that damage. When you design a lot of it to go through, I think a concern could be that there's actually just so much damage in dungeons once you start scaling it up. But that's like a kind of cross that bridge. There's other ways to mitigate that problem, I guess. But I wonder if that also means that once we see the like finalized versions of the like the what's this the war within dungeons, and then also the ones they're bringing back, I wonder if they're going to scale back those the same way they're going to have this dungeon. It looks like if it feels like design wise different, I wonder if they'll do that to those too.
They have been
Yeah,
making a bunch
man.
of changes to the returning dungeons as well, including some that I've
Yeah.
seen be kind of negatively received on Twitter, but seemed really good to me. Like the first boss of Workshop where it's the two battle bots, and you would like
Yeah.
always nuke one of them down and then just DPS the other one while it does nothing for like a minute and a half. And they made that not the strategy for that anymore, which makes sense, right? Like that seems good, but I saw a lot of people complaining about that change. I don't know. Obviously, we haven't tested
I
that
think
yet, but it seems
I
better to me.
before something goes live, all nerfs and buffs are kind of like none of it matters until you see like it for the first time. So I think what people have a habit of doing is they see anything being remotely considered a buff, even if they don't see
Mhm.
the offsetting nerf or like the design reason for it, and they're immediately mad. And same thing with nerfs, like, oh, they're nerfing this, but like that could just be for a completely different reason. You don't know, like until like no raid buffs. Like for example, if I'm like paying attention to the raid, we've done a bunch of raid testing, and I just see they buffed this ability by 5,000%. That doesn't make me like go crazy because I know that's like probably something was really really low with it, or it was really wrong, or like the number before wasn't correct, or something like. And then, or maybe they want that mechanic to be important now, right? It's like there's so much you can't get hung up on every buff and nerf until you actually see a dungeon, I think,
Mhm.
or a
Yeah.
raid.
It's kind of a knee-jerk reaction. Oftentimes when they make these changes in M plus, there will be caveats that aren't mentioned in the post. Like maybe they'll buff something by 200% damage, but they'll make it on a 10-second cooldown instead of like, just spam casting it. Or they'll like make it so it does the damage over time instead of just like one big hit. So those are like things we don't necessarily see, and that's why like I would like to play test it before I actually comment on it. But I do remember seeing some post. Apparently, there's like a PC gamer. I don't know if it's like an interview or just an article or what with Ion, and apparently it was like talking about how the state of M plus has been pretty bad in War Within, and it seems to be their top priority. I don't know if like that's like an actual thing. I didn't like really read
Oh,
into it too
three
much,
days
but
ago, I didn't
I
even hear
got it.
about
yeah,
this.
Yeah.
yeah, it's actually kind of
Dang.
interesting to look at if we want to just like look through it. But
Yeah,
yeah, apparently
very good idea.
M plus is like their top priority or something. Yeah, it's right there.
Yeah. Players are dropping out of World of Warcraft's hardest dungeon mode in droves. But from the stats, it doesn't actually look like
That
it's.
doesn't, yeah,
Yeah.
that it's weird. Like I think the like what it has felt like is people have felt like the like group finder is dead, and I think a lot of people.
Hmm.
It's a pretty decent way. Like I think if you play the game a lot, how popular the group finder is at the same time at the same point of the week, that can be like kind of an indicator of when a season is slowing down, or like how popular. Maybe you can kind of conflate all of like retail PVE into seeing that number. And I think those numbers have looked like good. Like every time I've seen a comparison to another season, I've been like, oh, there's a lot more people playing this season than I expected. Like, 'cause I think specifically the one that keeps getting brought up is not it's going by total Mythic Plus runs, and it's not accounting for the fact that 10 key levels have
Mhm.
been removed, and those have been replaced with delves, which are there was definitely people
That's
who
actually
did
kind of
those.
mentioned here too.
Right.
That's actually right
Yeah,
there when we added delves. Yeah, and well, this is also coming from the Raider Owl guys, and they have like the stats that we don't necessarily fully have because they do have some stuff extra. It's kind of mentioned in this post, so
yeah,
I think it's supposed to be like relative. It's supposed to be like relative to the beginning of expansions. There's not usually as big of a drop off. Is kind of the TLDR.
yeah. I mean, I think they should. Like, I think like Mythic Plus. Like, we always talk about how it's super like convenient as a player. We're like, come join where the grass is greener over here. Join the people who play the season a lot for 2 months or 3 months, and then just fuck off and do other stuff, and then come back. But Blizzard like definitely wants you to be playing the whole time if you can, right? That would be great for their game. And Mythic Plus is the thing that does that. Like Raid has a designed start and end time, right? There are people definitely who progress the whole patch to get cutting edge. But there's a lot of guilds who they do normal or AOTC and then stop. There's guilds that do Mythic and then they clear in a couple months and then they kind of like tail back their hours a little bit, right? Like Mythic Plus is the thing that is always there. So it's super important that they maintain that. And they're certainly in the past like year or so, stemming all the way back to the end of last expansion, where like there's been some huge concerns and they did address a lot of them, right? Like they split the whole like the 12 like the high keys. They've designed for high keys for the first time. They tried to like remove the affixes from top keys. Like they're clearly cooking whether they're working or not, right? So like it's I think it's been a priority to them for a while, right? Ever since they made that post saying, hey, we're not actually doing anything to Mythic Plus in the War Within. You guys are good, right? And then everyone was like, no, no, no,
That
no,
was
no, no.
crazy.
And then they had like the biggest blue post ever after that. That is kind of when I think they changed their focus. But I did want to point out one more thing, Dorky, about what you said. We're like, oh, there has been some dungeon changes. I think how they communicate to that to you tells you how much you should pay attention to what they're saying. For example, a blue post that says, we have buffed these things in this dungeon, and then there's a dev note of why, they're clearly trying to communicate something to you. When you are reading Wowhead data mined buffs and nerfs, where there's no blue post associated, you're basically making a deduction with like 20% of the info. You have no idea why they did that thing. It could be to offset something else. You're missing so much. So like ever getting really worked up about a data mine change before they officially announce it or talk about it, you're usually asking, you're most likely getting worked up for no reason because you don't know why they're doing those things. Like they're not intending to announce that stuff. You're just every beta build, you are seeing a 1 week update of them constantly working on the game, and they could have fixed that thing the next day, but you won't see it until the next build 6 days from then. So like usually stick to blue posts if you want to get like super mad. That's the like key to getting mad. You got to know when to do it.
You know, that actually kind of says something too. Like I kind of wish they would talk more about like what's happening with these dungeons because having to like rely on Wowhead data mine posts has always been like janky, and like a lot of people already look at this, so why not just make an official blue post about it and kind of just bring up points? Because
Yeah.
that's like something that I've been playing a lot of PoE, and they had their major announcement patch yesterday, right? And
Mhm.
I actually like really liked how they just kind of like sat down and just went over it exactly like what is changing and why, and how they're just like super transparent about like what they wanted to accomplish. And I kind of wish that was what we had for N+2.
Yeah, I mean, I think they do make those posts for M Plus pretty often, but it's the way that WoW works, right? Because you have a PTR, any changes that like as they're working on them just get immediately data mined, right? And it would be a lot of work for them to like always get ahead of before pushing anything to PTR if they had to make it in a blue post. I guess if it was something like, hey, over the next few weeks, you're going to see various changes to M Plus designed to do these things. But
Exactly. It could be a couple sentences.
especially when it's like old dungeons, though, a lot of the time, I think when you're just synthesizing dungeons from like 4 different expansions, like we see these WoW posts and it's like, oh, AoE damage buffed in this dungeon or whatever, but like the relative amounts of mob health, tank buster damage, AoE damage, all of these different things from expansion to expansion has varied so much that like you just kind of have to expect those things are going to have to get changed a lot anytime they revamp a dungeon into the new expansion, right? Because they've got to make it now all move to the baseline that we're at now for those things.
Yeah. I mean, they have communication people that could be in charge of that, but just think about, okay, let's say the community is clamoring for there to be easier dungeons. They just need this. And you've already decided as a developer team, like, you know what, they're kind of right. So let's push out some updates over the next 3 weeks that kind of focus on this. Even just one blue post that is like, hey guys, heard you.
Yeah.
we're gonna maybe do that, and then people will then now no longer be like scouring over every data mine change. They'll kind of just know your goal and maybe relax a little bit on all the small details. But I don't know. I also think maybe that does need to happen, but it would make a lot of people happy for very little effort, I think.
Yeah,
agreed.
I think it's tough as well. Like I kind of have been having this thought that I think the removing 10 levels of low keys from the ecosystem was like a tremendous blunder. Like looking back at it,
That's a pretty common sentiment. Yeah.
I think if they announced like, hey, we've got this exciting new revamp for M plus, we are adding 10 new levels of keys below M plus to make it so that there's more of a like ramp
be
for
happy.
people to get. I think that would be like a good
Even though-
change.
well, yeah, in an alternate reality, now people would just laugh because they're like, wait,
Yeah.
wasn't that a thing? But like, yeah, if they were adding it for the first time, yeah, you know what? I've never really thought about that, but I mean, I think that has to happen for delves to make sense. That's kind of why they were cleared out, right?
Maybe
They had to make, and maybe delves, like, are you saying delves are equal to or better than +2 to +9, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think the delves giving good loot can still be true. Delve loot's getting buffed next patch, right? Like a little bit with the if you farm 11s, you get gilded crests, not just from the map ones, but like every time it seems like. I don't know. It seems to me like it shouldn't have to be true that M plus needs to get nerfed for delves to exist and be good. But I guess maybe that's their perspective. Yeah,
they're very different. So I don't know. I feel like after delves have been released, it feels like it's a very different crowd of players they're trying to appeal to with delves. Like delves are supposed to just be something you do without having to like queue into a dungeon and not having like timed content and all that. So I don't think they necessarily need to do too much to like incentivize players to play delves.
All right, Battle of the expansion announcement on the PowerPoint slide features in this game. Delves versus Warfronts. Which one are you taking?
like which one is a better result?
Which one? Sure.
Delves by a mile. Warfronts.
Okay.
Warfronts did like nothing good.
I thought of the worst thing they've added as a major feature of an expansion in the last like 6 or 7 years. So I think is Warfronts. I think islands are better than Warfronts.
Well, I think Warfronts could have been good though. It's just like we didn't really put any.
Do you think it's possible? Well, Warfronts were so lore centric too. Do you think it's possible that just as we have acknowledged that maybe we are people that are missing the point of delves, do you think that's true of Warfronts? Do you think there's a group of people that were like, you know what, Warfronts made me feel like a fucking Warcraft player?
Yeah, and it wasn't supposed to like PvP too. It just turned out to be like you're fighting against NPCs.
Yeah, I think there were definitely people who put onto Warfronts something that it could have been, and it wasn't that. And I'd consider myself in that boat too. Like I like the idea. I played Warcraft 3. I would love the idea of like, oh, you're in a Warcraft 3 map and like you're one of the soldiers. Like that's a cool fantasy, but it never delivered on that or came particularly close. Whereas I think delves are delivering on a lot of what they're trying to accomplish. It just, I do think there were versions of delves that could have existed that would have been sick for us too, and those aren't really there, and I think they probably never were.
Basically visions.
Yeah, like that exactly. Which
is like a way harder delve.
Yeah,
with ramping difficulty and masks and things.
Yeah, and I think, is it possible that they could do some tweaks to delves that would make them better for us and not worse for the people that are currently enjoying them? Yeah, sure. But, it's, at the end of the day, it's not, I don't think it's the end of the world. Like, I think they're in a good place right now. I think delves are fine. They're doing, honestly, like, except the underwater delves are so annoying. So annoying to be underwater and like.
Yeah.
I haven't done a delve since the first week of.
I've done like 260 delves now. I'm working my way up to the.
Well, are you like farming an achievement or something? Or
yeah, there was an achievement for 250. There was a title, the Bountiful. Isn't that a cool title?
Yeah, fuck yeah.
And also, it was just on some of my guys, like I want a socket, but I don't want to do anything to get the socket. So delves are the way to get a socket without doing anything. So I would do, and then like. Oh, but then my 1 M plus slot gives me a good item, so now I've got to do that again next week so I can get a socket if there's not a good thing in the M plus box, right?
Yep, makes sense.
The cycle repeats. So I've done a lot of delves, but I would say that it's more like they're not like super fun. They're more just like not unfun. which
They're
is
just
better
activities that
than
you do. It's like chill activity.
it's better than a lot. It is better than like half of the stuff in that space that they've added in the past few expansions, right? Like the Warfronts, I would say, were actively unfun. Anytime you had a Warfront, like anytime doing a Warfront was important for your character, you were like, "This is, oh no, man." Or
That was
a
like every
heroic
time it was out,
Warfront.
right?
Yeah,
At
it was
least
like every
early in
new
a
season, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
every new
you'd
season
be
you had to
like,
do it.
"Oh god!" I remember when you had to do like heroic Darkshore Warfront to get stuff that's sort of that one season. That was
Remember when a season came out, and depending on where it was on the Warfront cycle, the best thing
Yeah.
to do was to actually transfer factions to get a free piece of gear and then come back.
Yeah, there was the time like before BOD, right? You guys all went Alliance to get, and there was also the like Alliance were the underdogs in war mode, so there was a special quest for them thing.
Oh yeah, you could go Alliance to get your war mode was like 30%,
Yeah,
and Hordes was 10. So for
Yeah.
like leveling and rep, I think it worked for Azerite games,
Yeah.
right?
yeah,
What a world.
what a good time. Yeah, and
Yeah.
of course your whole guild had to do that as well because you couldn't do any cross faction stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, other stuff about the new patch. Since we've done a little bit of testing now of either dungeons and raids, we've gotten to try out these set bonuses. I would say, I mean, okay, of course, half of them are broken, sure.
Yep.
I feel pretty vindicated in my initial assessment of like Jackpot is sick and the tank ones are kind of
Tank, what? Yeah,
I have
it
not
is
heard a
actually
single person
terrible.
say that the tank ones are good.
It is
Yeah.
fucking trash. I'm just gonna say it.
yeah,
It's so bad, man. Holy shit.
yeah.
Idea of just
I-
like proccing your defensive, and it's like, oh, what even is this? I mean, I guess the Demon Hunter one is nice, right? Because you're getting meta, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
Dude, the warrior wall. I feel like such an idiot when shield wall just procs around me and it's I'm not really taking damage. It's like, guys, I promise I didn't press this.
I
It
liked
was,
I
it
liked your
wasn't me.
cook. I liked your cook for that.
Yeah.
Where like every time it procs, it extends. So when you use it, you get a longer run.
Yeah, last episode. If any Blizzard employees were taking a Christmas break or whatever and didn't listen to the last episode of the PoddyC, you got to go back. I have free tier set for the tanks that you should take. It's better than the
It is no
better than
cost
the
to
current
you.
one. Yeah.
Speaking of developers, we've been trying to get a developer on this podcast for a while, and Blizzard keeps ghosting us. So please stop doing that and let him come on. Thank you.
Yeah, that's
Whoever's
crazy.
hearing this is a decision maker. It's been happening for like 3 months. They're like, yeah, cool, it's all good. And then you just like, okay, when can it happen? No answer. Come on, man. There'd be so many good questions, man. I didn't want to hear it. I want the people to hear it.
Yeah, going back to the new dungeon too, it's actually really nice that like it seems pretty open ended routing wise. That and the new swirlies. Oh my god, the new swirlies are
swirlies are
by
good.
far my favorite thing they've added to this game since like ever. Like more than warbands. That's how far I'll go.
Wow. More than
The
warbands.
swirlies are like actual gameplay changing, and like that's something that's pissed me off for the longest time. In fact, yeah, there's a clip of me.
Oh
on
yeah,
Wildhead.
I can see why this is your favorite. You got 170,000 views on a clip of them.
Yeah.
Which he makes exactly zero money from.
No,
Yeah.
dude, this is you got paid in so much exposure right here.
Yeah,
That's
exposure.
that's crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think it's good for two reasons. Number one, there's a clearly defined edge. I think that's probably the most annoying thing about the old swirly, but they're also extremely bright. Like there are people who rate it in WildStar, and I think if you do low level Final Fantasy content, they also have just telegraphs for abilities. If there's ever a frontal or anything, like you can just there's a big obvious not blending in with the environment, very bright thing that shows you where the damage is going to happen to you. And I think another reason why these are so good is it's just more obvious visually where things are. They like no matter what you're doing, a big blue or big red circle is not like it doesn't look as blending in with what the boss would actually do to you, but at the benefit of it's easier to see. And I think at least if you talk to gameplay focused players like ourselves, it just makes the game easier. It takes part of the annoying difficulty. Like that's one of the most frustrating ways to die, right? Like
Yep.
Yeah.
you died to something that you felt like you were out of, but the animation wasn't clear. That sucks. And also dying because you literally didn't see a mechanic because there were so many other things on the ground. You will always see these circles. They're extremely vivid and bright. And I think it adds like a telegraph element to the game that I think people will really like.
yeah.
There's
and-
no worse feeling than just feeling like, oh, what did I die to? And I'm pretty sure every gamer that has played WoW has gotten that feeling at least once.
Get rid
It's
of
so
fervent
nice.
strikes next.
Yep.
That's
And,
another one as a melee. You just like see a tank mechanic cast and then you just die. That's sweet.
And I think what
I
makes this like, all right, go ahead, Journals.
no, you.
I think what makes this really big and WoW in particular is how much how much min maxing there is for a caster. Like especially when I'm playing my boom camp. Like part of being good as a caster is to move as little as possible, right? And so when
Yeah.
you're greeting a cast and you're just like looking at to see if a swirl is gonna hit you or not, now you know for a fact. Like it's no second guessing. It's like, all right, am I in this or not? It's just like you're not gonna get hit, assuming you're like actually you have a brain.
Yeah. I think that, for the longest time, Blizzard has sort of had this. There's a tension between readability of mechanics and them looking immersive,
Yeah.
right? And Blizzard has kind of erred much more than we would like on the side of things being immersive. That leads to the, purple swirlies on purple floors thing that they like to do. And I think this represents a good step towards us on the side of like we want things to be legible as above all else. And they haven't sacrificed, like, it's not like the game looks awful. It's not like the game looks like
No.
there's an out of
Yeah, I
place
was gonna
circle
say
here,
that.
right? Like
Yeah.
these, honestly, the raid looks fantastic, right? The screenshots they've shown of these telegraph mechanics, like
The raid looks
it just looks,
incredible.
it looks great.
The
And
raid is so good.
the fact that you can easily, like, these trash piles on the boss we tested last week look great. They look like stinky trash piles. And also it's extremely obvious where they are and the boundaries between where they start and where they stop. And yeah, like those don't have to be those goals. You can accomplish both of them. You just have to prioritize both of them. And I'm glad they're doing that now.
I didn't know if you were trying to say jail or when you said goals, actual goals. That's going to be an ongoing bit, I believe. Yeah, really, really, really good all around.
W.
Yeah, I hope they keep up with this consistency because there's still been some swirlies that aren't fully, what's the word, solidified or circlified. There are still some
It's good for
old
there to be a
swirlies, and
few,
I
so
don't know
you
if it's
can.
like intended.
We got to keep the ability to yell like "Look at my body" when you die.
And that's a fallback. You need
Yeah.
that fallback.
You know,
But yeah, hopefully it's just like they've got to do all, like they've got to go through a pass to get all of them.
Okay, actually, this is an interesting thing. When you hear a natty look at my body, what is the % chance that you think they actually got screwed and they weren't really in it?
I think it depends on the person.
It definitely
Yeah.
depends on the person, but let's just
Yeah.
generalize.
Yeah, like the average person you're playing with.
I'm saying 95% of the time they got hit by that.
Yeah.
Is that what we're something like that? Like if a Vade said it, I'd be like, he wasn't in that. But like, there's
Yeah.
very few people that would actually do that. Like most times you hear that someone's like, ain't no way. They're basically just saying I'm mad. They're not actually saying I didn't get hit by that. They're just like so upset that they died to it.
I exclusively say it when I know I got hit by something.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
And I clip it
I
every single time,
definitely-
so I feel indicated.
Yeah, there's some. I mean, I've like died to things I didn't think I got hit by on stream, and I legit after the run will do like a VOD replay with my chat because they Keck W'd me.
Yeah.
So if they're gonna be wrong, I'm gonna fucking let them know they
Yeah,
were wrong. That
fuck
Keck W
you.
hurt. That Keck W
Yep.
hurt me in ways you can't know. So I
Hey,
have
think I'm
to.
lying?
Yeah. If they're lying, I gotta catch them on it.
Yeah, I saw in well, actually, no. I mean, I experienced it myself on what's the last boss called of this raid? Queen Antarek.
Yeah.
On Queen Antarek, there was so much desyncing on the web blades that it was actually like it was fucking annoying. There were so
Not
many
like
times where I
literal
died. I'm like,
desync,
wait, what?
just like the animation being like it goes off. I actually am of the opinion. I had someone fight me on this that they thought it like kind of made sense that the lines went away when the web retracted and went in. And I think that's a bad take. I think that is if we're talking about the new things in their patch being visually obvious where the damage is happening, I would say web blades is, at least our raiders think it is literally the hardest mechanic that's ever been in the game. I think a decent chunk of that is actually how hard it is to know when you're safe. Like when that line goes away, the game is trying to tell you this place is safe now, but it's not, and that caused a lot of those deaths.
Yeah, the ground effect needs to like follow the projectile as it comes in and get erased, along the path as it's coming
that
in.
sounds hard because it's very, very fast, but that would be like a perfect, or just at least have the entire line persist.
Yeah, until it's
like the
all
opposite
safe.
problem is it is actually sometimes true that you can step into the line and not take damage. That's better than it going away because then you at least still know it's not there.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, what else we got?
You guys want to detour to the Patreon question and then see if we proc some more things to talk about?
Oh,
during
I
or
have
after
I
that?
have something I'm gonna ask each of you guys for an update on after the Patreon question. So let's hit the Patreon
Okay.
first.
All right, this one comes from Toasty, who says, "Imagine this situation. Blizzard has just announced they're releasing a brand new 10-man mega dungeon for retail. This is an exclusive raid with specific rules. It can only be done once. When the players log off or complete the raid, all encounters are erased from Blizzard servers, never to be done or seen again. It cannot be streamed. It cannot be raid led from outside the game. It cannot have VODs recorded.
Did Frank pick this?
The
This
two
is
tanks
insane.
are chosen, but must be designated as main tank or off tank. This is important because a plaque will be sent to them with the raiders' titles engraved on it.
Okay.
All DPS and healers will be chosen from a pool of players. The pool contains all players who have timed a plus 14 with less than 15 seconds left on the timer. Between Max, Dorki, and Dratnos, which of you would be the main tank, the
Me.
off tank, and who would miss out on the
Me.
chance
I'm
to
the
see
main
the raid
tank.
ever again?
I'm the main tank.
No, miss out on chance to raid ever again is definitely Max because that already happened.
I'm the fucking main dude. I haven't played in years, and I have still technically achieved more than both of you guys have as a tank.
That's
I'm the
okay.
fucking main tank.
Nah, it's me.
The question is, which one of you guys are fucking out?
I'll be the off tank. You guys fight over who's main tank, and I'll be the
Yeah.
off tank.
Then no, you're guaranteeing yourself a spot. That's bullshit.
No, I mean, I think it's fair.
I'm
I
the
think it's only
fucking.
fair.
I could never be an off tank bitch.
Yeah, exactly. So you can't be an off tank.
Off tanks are bitches, dude. They're
That's
like
right.
they're like, yes, main tank, please. Like, what do I do? Please help me.
Yeah, I mean, you can
Isn't
hold
my turn to
aggro, you
taunt
can
yet?
get your set bonus procking, you can be top damage. I just want to be there. I just want to see the fights, man.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's fair.
this ended up being a great question because the Patreon question is just the interesting banter in the last paragraph. But I thought they were like unironically doing the like, here's my pitch for a Race for World First thing
Yeah.
that are always so terrible that ends up with the answer of who are they making this content for, and it's like 20 people, and they're like, this will never happen. But it ended up being interesting. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
ignore me earlier, like 2 minutes ago, when I was like, this is stupid.
Yeah. No,
W
Toasty.
Frank.
W
Yeah.
Toasty.
W Toasty.
W. Okay,
All right, so
I'm
what
the
did you
main
have?
tank though. I'm the main tank.
No.
one of you guys is the main tank. We can agree on that.
I mean, I don't know. Okay, as long as everyone, I am down to never see the raid ever again. As long as you guys acknowledge that I would be the main tank if I wanted to be.
Okay, sure.
All right, then
Yeah,
everybody wins. Dratnos is the happy little off tank, and
Yeah, that's me.
and egomaniac Dorky can be the fucking main
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
All right, hell yeah.
All right, you want my update?
Yep.
All right, so I need an update from each of you. And it's drama related.
Oh,
So,
my.
Ooh, I love drama.
Dorky, you are a classic drama enjoyer. I've been hearing there's been a lot of stuff happening over the last
Oh,
2
yeah,
days
that's
or so.
fucking
Can you give me
huge.
an update? I heard it involved pirate software.
Yeah. So basically, what happened was they were doing a dire mall run. They fucked up the first time. It was bad vibes. They had to like run out. They barely escaped. And then they go again. They tackle it again. And so they like butt pull, right? The druid butt pulls. The tank was tanking in a bad spot. The rogue called to run. And so everyone started running away, right? Pirate is a mage who is usually like in charge of controlling stuff, but he just like booked it. Like he roached out. He blinked. He blinked twice actually. And then he was like saying how like I have no mana. Like what the fuck am I supposed to do? It was like the rogue Yamato was calling him out. He was like, "Pirate, what are you doing? Come help us." And he was like, "What am I supposed to do? I have no mana," which is kind of a lie. He like damn near moused over his mana gem, and he like had a
Okay.
large chunk of mana left. And you're also supposed to downrank your blizzard, right? Because back then there were ranks on your abilities, and you can use
Cost
the
less
lowest
mana to
rank
get the same
blizzard.
flow.
Yeah, you get the same slow, right? Exactly. And so it like right after that, the two people died, not Varrogue, but Varrogue was like, why did you just like run away on us?" And he just like kind of like went in on it, saying how like why are you blaming me? Like you guys fucked up. Like we tanked into a bad spot, yada yada yada, which was all true by the way. And so this kind of blew up, right? Because in hardcore, there's a certain etiquette where when you call to run, you're kind of just like all trying to help each other get away, right? Like you're never just prioritizing your own life and nothing else. And so, but in pirate, like he he said in his defense, like he was the main enchanter of the guild, and he had like all the mats and stuff. He couldn't afford to die, but like at the end of the day,
Okay.
he's a mage, and people were just like not happy about the fact that like this big streamer has an ego and he refuses to take any accountability, and basically caused the death of 2 people. And so Asmongold also chimed in on this. He had
Oh,
100K
that's good.
viewers streaming this, and then Tyler One was like reacting to it with like 55K viewers. It was just like blowing up everywhere, right? Like people wanted blood. They wanted him canceled, a ban, fucking. They want his character
Let's just
dead.
cancel him.
They want him like
Fuck it.
he was given like death threats in game and
Yeah, that's
in
good.
real
Why
life,
not?
and
Yeah, that's good.
yeah, so like that kind of blew up big time. And
What is your opinion, Dorky? Who's in the wrong?
well, I mean, like, I don't think Pirate necessarily did anything bad. Like, it was, I think he was kind of like egged on, right? Because like in the middle of like him roaching out, Yamato, the rogue, was like kind of like like Pirate, what are you doing, right? Like he said that, and that kind of like irked him a bit. I bet it was kind of like an eagle thing where he was just like, all right, I'm not gonna help these fuckers after like hearing that. And I mean, like ultimately, it was the tank and the druid's fault for like being positioned so poorly, and which caused the whole buildup, right? But could he have helped and saved the day? Absolutely. So it's one of those cases where it's like he wasn't the one who started the
It's the
whole
perfect conflict.
fuck up.
There's
Yeah.
reasonable reasons to be
Yeah.
mad on both sides. Throw in an
Yeah.
Asmongold react, and now everyone's fucking popping off.
And you've got
Yeah, so
people who
what made
come
it
into
even-
this already loving or hating various personalities, which lets them then cherry pick some facts from the.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
That's so
like,
good.
I already don't like this guy. I'm gonna use this situation.
Yeah. That's actually exactly what happened. There were like a ton of people who were already chiming in saying how like, oh, this guy's a fucking fraud. Like they fucking hate pirate software, yada yada yada. And so now this is like justification for them to be like, oh yeah, this guy's a rat.
Yeah,
for sure.
which is great.
It was actually
all the best people come out of the woodwork, by the way, in these kind of situations. They seem very reasonable.
Well, it's important to remember that a 10-second burst of gameplay is really indicative of somebody's core character as a human being. So,
Well, I mean, so what makes it really bad in the hardcore WoW is like, these guys have invested hundreds of hours into this, right? Like they are at the deep point of hardcore. They're not just like, level 10s or level 20s.
But they gained something. They gained being at the middle of a huge drama, and now everyone knows their name.
Yeah.
Look at
And,
that.
it's definitely like shitty for a pirate. Like I do feel bad for him because, like he got an unnecessary amount of hate. But like it's definitely one of those things where like he definitely should have taken some accountability, and he definitely should have just been like, all right, my bad. But
I have a
it
take.
just like didn't happen.
So I briefly heard about this because I streamed the other day, and some of my viewers told me about it, and then I watched like a Twitter clip of it. Okay, I watched 2 interactions. Like I think the first time they started talking about it, and then like Pirate Software left the call, and then they like got in a call again for like 30 seconds, and then Pirate Software left again. Are you familiar with those 2 clips?
Was it one with like Tyler One?
I don't know, but okay, here's my take of I don't know who Pirate Software is. I don't know who Yamoto is. But I heard 2 interactions between those 2, and I am positive that Yamoto is wrong. And it's based nothing on what he actually said or what Pirate Software did, but the way that he was talking about it seemed so arrogant and so like matter of
He's
fact.
just European.
It's just maybe it's European diff, but I'm just listening to him and I'm like, I don't actually know what happened here, but that guy can't be the right one. So that's my take.
Some
Completely
some
uninformed
background on these guys. Yamato, he is a League of Legends player, so that already says a lot. And he's
What do you mean? What do you mean by that?
well, he's known for being kind of toxic. Like he's said some heinous shit that would cause people to uninstall the game. Like he's that kind of guy. Although he actually didn't go very far with this.
Like
he was
toxic for a League of Legends player is like
that's crazy.
That's something. That's like that's crazy.
So is there even more nuance to this, where like this battle is also between the toxic and less toxic at the same time? Like the people who defend the bastion of being toxic, right? Those people are also like battling on Yamoto's behalf, and that's also part of this thing, maybe on a deeper level.
Yeah, I mean, a large part of it was really just like, because like nobody in the group actually like blamed Pirate, except for like maybe Yamato kind of did, but like it was more like, all right, like we all fucked up.
We just want you to at least say you could have maybe like
yeah, it could have helped us,
Like let's say they all died, and he's like, guys, sorry, I panicked, I'm kind of new to this. And like I could have helped you, but like we all said we were running, and like I'm so sorry, bro. It's over instantly, right? Like no one no one cares.
Well,
It
so
sounds like it was
that's the
fact
hard
that
part though, because he is like, the ex Blizzard guy. He is the guy who played this game for 15 years.
who
So
cares?
yeah, I think that's like the whole what people are getting caught up
That doesn't
on. It's like,
matter.
all right,
Well,
he's got
but
an ego and he refuses to acknowledge
like
that he fucked up.
mistakes like the mana expenditure and the failing to downrank your Blizzard and the not mana gemming are less justified if you are claiming to be like a, expert, knows Mage like the back of your hand, played it forever type thing, right? Like those, it's
Yeah,
harder
you
to
can be
claim
this guy,
good.
and then like you
Right.
don't actually when shit hits the fan, you don't actually pull it off. Because
Yeah.
like a lot of people were starting to pull up like all of these like old clips of him saying how like
Oh my god.
it was real bad. It was actually
What were
fucked.
the
Like
clips
it's
saying? Was he
kind of
like,
the
I'm the
funniest
best
way.
fucking mage to ever live
No,
or
no, no, no,
something?
no, no. It's just clips like saying like how like I love playing a mage and like here's what you can do as a mage. You can like downrank your Blizzard so that you can help your group. And what makes hardcore so
Okay,
fun
but
is like you so it's like him saying all this and
at
then
the
like this
same
happens.
time, though,
Kind of like
you can
ooh.
know all of these things, but in a fight or flight reaction moment in 10
Yeah,
seconds, you
100%.
can fuck up and miss all of it, which is what I'm saying. Like, you don't have to.
100%. Yeah.
Right?
But so what's probably happened here is like the fight or flight response happened, and he was like, I'm just going to do everything I can to maximize my character's chance of living, right? Like that. He was aware that now like death was on the table, and he was like, I'm going to make sure this doesn't happen to me, right? And that is, could he have taken like a 1% risk of dying to give his group, a 70% chance of living type thing? If he's, the more he knows about these mechanics, the more like, yes, he probably made that decision, with that information versus it just being, I'm a newer player, I didn't know I could do these things, right? And so I think that's why that's relevant information for the Inquisition here.
Yeah, like I saw a clip of like, I think it was Peekaboo or something. It was someone was playing a mage and their group pulled too much and everyone was gonna die and they just started CCing the fuck out of everything and saved everyone.
Yeah.
And it was like,
That was Ampy. Yeah.
oh,
He's one of
whoever.
the
Yeah,
sweats.
yeah. So like obviously like I guess it's somewhat understood that that's like the mage's role when things go wrong. Maybe that's why you want to bring a mage to your group. It's like some protection against that, right? Like, yeah. Who knows? All right. Well, is that it? Is that the classic roundup? Has any other interesting things happened in the last like little bit?
That's like the main
one.
meat of it. Yep.
But classic is still going strong. I love that classic is like fueled by drama.
Yeah.
Like the entire scene is like, that's kind of, if you think about what people are actually tuning in for, they are tuning in for that and they want to be there when it happens. And like, as well as people dying, but that's also drama because usually there's drama associated with why that person died. So like, it's kind of like a perfect storm for content, which I find super fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, it's really the streamers that make it all the more exciting because otherwise it's kind of just like, it's.
I mean, the crazy
thing.
fans make it more exciting, bro. I bet like the streamers had almost nothing to do with how big that thing blew up. Okay, cool. Someone didn't take accountability. Someone else disagreed. Okay, I'm pretty sure it was all of the thousands of fans like having to pick a side, and there's like literally, if you count the people, like stadiums of people on both directions, filled with people that are like yelling the opposite thing. Like that's kind of cool, right? That's really rare.
Yeah, you just have like everyone giving their takes on it, and like that also like it's just like content that's generating content. It's a hack.
Okay, so
like
what's
right
our
now,
what's
like Peekaboo's just streaming. He's just reacting to the reacts.
what's our official PoddyC reaction? What's the verdict here? That they were both in the wrong, or what? Like, are we leaning a direction? Are we saying fuck?
I would say everyone
Yamamoto,
could have done
fuck-
something better.
All right, we're neutral. We're potty neutral.
Yeah, we're enlightened centrists in this thing.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I don't know Pirate Software or the other
everyone
guy, but I would just lean towards Yamamoto being wrong, just from listening to him. All
I-
right.
could-
it's-
He's a League of
yeah.
Legends player.
Okay.
Definitely one of the cases where there's wrongness. There's enough wrongness to go around for multiple people to get
Yeah.
some helpings of it.
Okay, Dratnos, I need your update. Are you is it true that you are a consumer of WoW Twitter drama?
It is indeed true that I'm a
Okay.
consumer
Oh,
of
dude,
wild
yeah, the
drama.
retail side of things. There's been some crazy shit
Oh.
happening too.
Yeah, so I've kind of missed that a little bit, but like during my last stream, some of my viewers were like, because it apparently involves Megasett, friend of the podcast, some people's favorite podcast host that starts with an M for the PoddyC.
Yep. Many people's.
Yeah, many of them, and apparently she was slightly involved with, I think, Bird Style Girl.
Yep. That's
Okay.
right.
So give me a little breakdown. What happened?
So they're basically this other person was started making Mystery Weaver guide content, and
So this
there
other
were-
person as well, just for reference for people who are listening and are unaware, Bird Style Girl named Bird Style Girl because they released a video with their boyfriend being fed Monster energy drink via bird method.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, all right, got it.
So the it seems to me like this started with starting making some Mistweaver guide content and commentary M+ content on YouTube, which a lot of people do.
Totally fair.
And some people notice some similarities stylistically between the thumbnails of her content and Megasett's content, which
I think more than just the thumbnails. There's also just like a couple of the like when they were breaking down certain abilities, it was the same like similar font and also exact same color.
Right, which I mean the color is like in a lot of cases it was white and then the Mistweaver class color, which I think I don't think that it was an egregious case of obvious plagiarism. I think it was more a case of like a pretty reasonable stylistic
inspiration.
Yeah, and like, is it likely that it was, heavily inspired by Megasett's content? Reasonably likely, but I wouldn't say like overwhelmingly likely. I think the chance that two people could independently arrive at something like, we'll use the Mistweaver class color for this. We'll put these, that title up here, and then a picture down in the bottom right of the thumbnail or whatever. And like those sorts of decisions are a lot of people making YouTube videos will make those same decisions, right? Like there's only so many good ways to do a thumbnail, and that is kind of an obvious one. Stylistic similarities covering the same things, but on the other hand, you can make the argument that there's only so many things to cover if you're making Mistweaver guide content, right? So all of that I think is somewhat reasonable, but so people called her out for, this sort of like, is this plagiarism? And then this was when things really accelerated, because in the reply, she was saying like, oh no, I've never even watched Megasett, it's custom font. I've never yoinked her font or anything. And that's when eventually there ended up being some posts.
Chat logs.
Yeah, including the best one is a chat log that says, "What font do you use?" in Megasett's channel, which is an unbelievable, like, and her response was like, "Oh, this is what font are you using for your in-game damage numbers or something like that?" Is the explanation for it, which may or may not be true. I'm not trying to get involved in drama. I'm only ever trying to observe.
Yeah,
it.
you are relaying information.
You're a scientist.
I'm
just out here relaying the information.
Yeah, exactly. And so I don't want to like it again. Is it possible that's true? Maybe, but it is very funny that there is, after saying that,
it is funny.
A chat or a screenshot of the what font do you use? And then things, as they tend to do, got a little bit nastier. We had confrontational people on both sides. Not Megasett herself, but people were attacking the other girl, and then
that was one thing that I noticed.
And there was a lot of sort of accelerating
ad hominem
here. Some pretty nasty attacks. Obviously, like when you're the target of a lot of people's hate, some of them will say some pretty nasty things to you, and then, but if you say any nasty things back, those get screenshotted, and that leads more people to feel like it's okay to be really nasty to you. I think certainly it was very poorly handled by her, but also the amount of hate that she got for something that's not really actually a big deal. Like there's this thing on the internet that tends to happen where something that's not actually a big deal this is the same with the pirate software thing, right? Where like whatever happened in a dead dire mall, for 30 seconds does not deserve the avalanche of hatred that Twitter in particular and the internet in general can launch on somebody. And I think that was, it sort of became one of these things where like the original sin was less of the thing here, and it was more like the escalating response on top of it.
Well, okay. I think there's other elements. Like I think very similar to the pirate software thing. I think this is objectively true, just kind of seeing how the tea leaves are falling here. Megasett is a very well-liked person.
Yes.
There are not a lot of
almost universally.
I do not know of any Megasett haters. I'm sure they exist.
I'm a hater.
Okay, she has one hater, and it's Dratnos.
Yeah.
But there are not a lot of Megasett haters, and as far as I can tell, Bird Style Girl has made a lot of people very mad for a while now.
Yes.
So I think a big part of this, regardless, because I remember reading the initial thing, they're like, "Oh my god, she copied this font," and I read the initial tweet. Yeah, I even saw the chat logs, and I'm like, "There's nothing here that's that bad." That person can just say like, "Hey, I'm a Misfear guide writer, and I saw your font." And I like your content, and I wanted to make something similar. Here's the thing: when someone is copying your content, I'm sitting here thinking, "This is me." I've had people release my kill videos before I could get hundreds of thousands of views and never taken down. I've had people literally rip content off my stream and make clips channels of me and make money. And like, that's just part of life. Like that's a way more egregious form of copying than that. And like, that's just whatever. You just live with it. And so I'm reading this. I'm like, this isn't really that big of a deal. But what made it a big deal is she also said some things that were like, I don't actually even watch her because I don't think it's not even very good, or like the videos it became like that kind of stuff, and it was like, okay, well now you're just lying. Like clearly you watch the content, like it's inspired. Like no one would have an issue with you saying I'm inspired by it. And if the reason why you don't care about those things is if someone is copying your content, if they're inspired by you, they're already a step behind. They're not going to beat you. No one's going to beat you being you late.
Yeah.
Right. So like you should never feel insecure about people like that, right? Like that doesn't make any sense. So like I think it all just came down to Megasett very well liked, her very not well liked, got shit on. She clearly said some really stupid things after that I think caused all of that. And already, I mean, maybe there's a reason people are liked and disliked, right? I think that's a good argument. So I don't know. I saw a little bit of it. I was kind of perplexed by my stream because my stream expected me to read the font thing and like get enraged for Megasett's behalf. And I'm like, this just isn't a big deal. But it is kind of a big deal that she said that other stuff.
Yeah.
I'm a Megasett fan, so I was upset, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it has nothing to do with, it's all optics, because I feel like she didn't do anything bad copy, right? It's like, it is what it is, right? It's whatever, right?
Yeah.
But it's how she conducted herself. And
exactly.
That kind of tells you everything. That's
yeah, because I mean, like, you look at the opposite situation. Look at the preheat situation, right? Preheat with an A accused Preheat with an E of stealing his name, and guess what? People sided with E because E was just being himself, right?
Calling them E and A.
Well, I mean, like if it's a preheat, right? They're big.
Yeah, it's
right?
confusing.
Like,
yeah, I understand.
yeah.
I mean, I had more
Is
context to that because I was like, he was in the guild and a good friend of mine still. And like he basically got bad advice from a lawyer. Like basically, like he would have a reason to copyright preheat, so someone didn't actually steal his thing. So his lawyer's like, well, for your copyright to matter, this is true. You have to defend it when necessary. So like it was true that guy was getting increased viewership when we would like win races. You would just see his viewership go up, and a lot of his chat messages were like, bro, grats on the race. And just like he constantly had to be like, that's not me. But he probably wasn't doing that on purpose, right? He wasn't streaming like, oh, preheat just won a race world first, other preheat, I guess. I better like turn my stream on and just milk these views. It's probably just like a coincidence, right? And then like the idea, just the simple premise of this, a gamer would cease and desist another gamer for using not even the same, a similar name is just an absolutely insane premise. Like that is fucking crazy, right? Like if you just hear that, you're like, what the fuck? And you immediately side with the person who sent the legal thing. Because you're like, why did you do that? You caused all of this, right?
Side against that person. Yeah.
You go against that person. You'd side against that person. Yeah. And you're right. So that scenario, I think, was like kind of not a big deal because he didn't end up doing it. But like people have to choose a side, right? And who's the more likable person? It's clearly the guy that's just like, please stop sending me legal notices. I don't want this. Please stop doing this. Yeah. Yeah. Megasett W. She didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah. And I think a through line between all three of these cases we've discussed is somebody was being a mild to moderate dick and ends up getting like an avalanche of internet hate that's more than they deserved. And so, yeah, that's usually, I don't know, like in the preheat versus preheat case, for instance, I think that is definitely a case of like,
oh, that was extreme. Yeah.
Right. And I say this as somebody who I consider both of them friends, and
yeah, Preet's a good guy.
Yeah.
A. I don't know E.
In my opinion.
Don't know E.
Yeah. I like them both.
Yeah, I don't really know E either. Actually, I don't really know them, neither of them too well. I mean, I've spoken to Preheat A a couple of times.
Yeah,
there's also been
they're
some,
both cool.
Yeah, on the M plus side of things, there's also been some major switch.
There's more drama.
The TGP teams.
Oh fuck yeah! Oh yeah, because
Like,
that was the Zalea thing, right? Like Zalea
Yeah.
was going to play for a team.
well, not just that, but that's like part of it.
That's the drama.
That's what caused
Hook.
the team movement drama stuff, right?
Yeah, it's an avalanche of
All right, lay it
things.
down. Lay it
There's like
down.
so as far as I know, the Echo Boys. So well, it started off with the Echo Boys. They asked AJ to play, who plays in Kira's team, which
Mhm.
was known as Missed Count, I believe.
So yeah, so
And
Kira's team lost their healer to like New Echo.
yeah. So Kira's team, they lost their healer. Like he got poached basically, and
Mhm.
obviously that usually like is not a good look. I remember when this happened between me and Growl. Like I remember when Growl got asked to play with Trance and all that, and he just fucking like dipped on us during push week, and I got fucking pissed at him for it. I told him like, get the fuck out of here. I gotta watch you in
That
my group
fight.
anymore. But then like he got lobbed by Trance for JB, so he came crawling back. But yeah, this was a while ago. This was back in me. So it's crazy to see this happening now with look at AJ. And so yeah, so AJ leaves to joined Echo, and so I mean they weren't even really playing much. We were planning on just like doing it chill, right? Because like there's the whole PTR ray testing coming up, and there's like OnlyFans stuff. Like there's just so much happening that like we don't really have time to be doing TGP, right? And so Kira's team, they're like, all right, well, I mean, if you're gonna leave us, then we're just gonna get Azalea. So they got Azalea, and they've actually been kind of crushing it. And then there's that whole thing that happened
Like
where
on live, they were already playing on
Yeah.
live. Okay.
Yeah, they
they
were
were
getting
like
like some
key in the
of the
top.
top runs.
Yeah, they were actually owning hard, and they were gonna probably do pretty well, like probably even possibly win the tournament. And then Azalea got banned from being able to compete, and Echo turned out that they're not gonna play because apparently they're gonna go like super hard on Reach the War first. They lost, so obviously we're gonna have to like double down on retesting and preparation and all that. Yada yada yada.
Okay.
And now he has his own M plus team too. He got asked to play because like they saw like some teams were being dissolved, so like there's like a chance of playing. And so there's like a bunch of shuffling going on amongst the TGP teams.
Okay. Yeah, the I know that like the Zalea thing, not gonna cover that too in depth, but like there was some weird things about timing with that, right? Like it seemed like I remember there was like this message like Miraz was like, you might want to check on that or something like that, right?
Mhm.
And I think that was
Yeah.
probably because like, I don't know if like Echo knew, but like, if you're planning on doing the TGP with someone that had any kind of allegations, right? Like Blizzard, ever since Josh especially, it took them like years to really trust race guilds again. Like I went through that. They want to distance themselves obviously as far as possible from those things. So like, not to. I'm not really familiar with Zalia's stuff. I don't not to say that it's at like Josh's level or anything like that, but yeah, like Blizzard wants to stay away from that with a 10-foot pole. And I didn't like read all of that stuff, but I know that was like huge drama. Drama is even the wrong word to use for it. I think it's deeper than drama, right? That's some like real shit. So,
Yeah.
probably not going to go too deep into that. But like, what caused the avalanche of that? So like Echo's done. Did AJ go back to missed count? Is that happening?
I heard they're not even gonna play. Like they've been kind of down about it and maybe
So
not even play.
TGP got lost Echo and the crazy missed count team at the same time.
It's not confirmed, but yeah, it's like there's a chance of it. And then like like I don't even know how much the mandatory is playing because they also have Echo players.
Yeah, the overlap between some of these times and the raid testing
Well,
times is pretty nasty.
yeah. Well, so the thing is though, is like
You could.
you could just not, even if you were to take the day before and the day of raid testing off, all these people could still qualify, end up in one of the cups,
Mhm.
and then qualify for the grand finals, right? It makes more sense. I wouldn't worry as much about Echo players, like if Echo players on other teams, because Miraz is like big brain wrinkle guy. So like he is someone that has to be like fully prepared for raid testing. I think in guilds like this, not every single player is like super required to like you can still go to raid testing and not miss a lot of time. Like you can miss a few hours of practice, but like for those teams, they would still be extremely competitive, right? Or maybe very little difference at all. It's more that like Miraz can't really have his mind in two different places. Like I remember taking off the last tournament that I did. The one after that I didn't do because I felt like I didn't want to have my mind preparing for a race and preparing for MDI at the same time, because you're kind of putting your eggs in two different baskets, right? And I think Mirez has a very similar position to me, and I couldn't justify that decision, and I think after losing, especially, like it's kind of a bad look to the rest of the players, right?
Mhm.
Like it's kind of hard to justify that as an officer or like a decision maker. I think so. I think it's more that I think the Echo players could probably play unless they like banned it, unless they were like, hey, guild wide, you can't play in this TGP, maybe.
Yeah, well, I saw it more as like they had a pretty rough loss last year, and shit has changed a lot, so they probably just like want their players to really lock in. That's how I see it.
Yep.
Yeah. I think as a
I know
player
that,
as well, like it's just like the idea of going all in to win TGP and then like going all in 2 weeks later or however many weeks later to win Race to World first, right? It's like
How much can you go all in 1 month?
exactly like it's maybe possible, but it's very tempting to just be like, screw TGP, right? We'll do something in a future season. So I think and with 5 people on a team, it only takes like 1 or 2 people who are feeling hesitant before
Or not
you're just like-
invested.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. So, but yeah, I don't know, hopefully it's still an exciting TGP to watch. I think it's all M pluses are famous for 2 weeks before time trials
Just
saying, yeah, I'm
being
not
like,
playing
let's
this
fucking
time,
do it.
and
And
then
then they play.
bang, they're there.
Like
There's
Dorki.
yeah,
Someone on this
Dorki.
very same fucking podcast
Exactly.
right now. Yep.
Dorki is always not
Dorki
playing the
has
next
on
MDI, and
wax.
then he's every single time.
He
he's
said
in
it
the
on
time
wax
trials.
on this podcast. He fucking threw it down. He's like, I am not doing this again. And
Yeah.
before our next episode, he was on a team. That has
Yeah.
happened. That has actually happened.
Yeah.
Well,
Dorki,
last
you
time
playing
I
this
didn't play.
TGP? Yeah, but you,
okay,
I mean,
you
like,
were gonna.
join a team.
I was
you
gonna
were going.
play, yeah.
You were gonna do the like stream team, and then the team died. But like you were like, I'm
Yeah,
never
yeah.
doing this again, and you just immediately did it again.
Yeah, I mean, like if the situation occurs and the stars align, then
Yeah.
I'm still
I
gonna
mean,
play,
it
but-
makes sense. Mythic pluses are
Yeah.
built to be spontaneous. The entire game mode is designed around spontaneous gameplay that doesn't have to be scheduled, right? So
Yeah.
you making your decisions like that, I make every decision in my life like that. So I totally understand.
Yeah, if the stars align, which means if you get a DM from one person who's pretty good at the game, it's like, hey, do you want to do
That's
TGP?
usually how
Who
it
else
goes,
is
yeah.
playing? They listen to their kill games.
Yeah,
Yeah,
who's the
fuck it,
team?
let's get it.
Yeah.
Who-
Like, I know those
what do
names.
you
All
think?
right, I'm in.
All right. Speaking of drama, Dorky, if someone gives you that message and they're a good player and they're like, "Do you want to play?" and you're like, "All right, sure." Who else is in the team? What is the name you least want to see of the next 3 names they type? You don't have to answer this question, by the way, because like that's kind of fucked up. But just in case we wanted to do some
You want to start some shit?
some
Yeah.
creation of drama. We don't. We can move on. Watermelon. I'm hungry.
I mean, honestly,
right.
I don't think there's like anyone in particular that I wouldn't want to play with because I don't like him or anything. It's just like if it feels like the team sucks, right? Like,
Go
yeah,
Boomy then.
What do you mean?
Yips.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you ask me to play, I'd be definitely down.
Oh, opposite of what I was saying. All good though. Yeah. Okay. W.
W.
There we go.
All right. GG's. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. Poddio. See you next week.
Adios.
Yep, we're back.